grew up right here in Albany, Georgia. As a matter of fact, I was born in the house that I live on, which is not too far from here. I was born in that house, and I'm still in that house. My dad built that house in 1932. I am a PK, which means a preacher kid. And growing up in that house, of course, you know what preachers do and say. So I abided by all of the rules. So growing up in that house was a wonderful thing, to be in that house, because my dad sheltered us from a lot of the ills of segregation. Before the Albany movement started, I didn't know anything about segregation. I knew that I went to a school with just black people, but I thought that's what it was. And of course, my dad said, you don't have to go to the movies because I bought you a TV. He said you don't have to go to the hotels because you have a bedroom. You don't have to go to restaurants because you have a kitchen. So that's why I say he sheltered us from all of that. I started singing in my father's church at the age of 6. And I did my first solo performance when I was in middle school. And from then on, I started singing. And I knew that the Lord gave me this voice, and I'm still using it today. After completing 1 year of college at Florida A&M University in 1961, I came home for the summer. And of course, the Albany movement had begun. And I was walking down the street one day, and I'm not sure whether it was Cordell Reagan or Charles Sherrod asked me if I wanted to be free. So I told him I am free. I thought I was free. But joining the movement, singing at mass meetings, marching, doing picket lines, I found out that I was not free. So I joined the movement. The Albany movement started in the year of 1961, and we desegregated across the board. We didn't have anything that we didn't want to be desegregated. And so during the Albany movement, the original Freedom Singers were formed in 1962. And we were formed for the purpose of raising funds for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The reason why we were organized, Pete Seeger, who was in Albany at the time, he thought of that idea, and he asked Cordell, why don't you form this group? So the group was formed. Our songs came from spirituals, rhythm and blues. Only thing we did was change the lyrics. Say, for instance, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. The only line we had to change was, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. We chose songs like that because people knew the tune, but they didn't particularly know the words. So the only thing we had to do was teach the words. We raised funds. We traveled 50,000 plus miles in 9 months, covering 46 states. At that time, there were only 48 states. But Albany was the pub of everything. And of course, Martin Luther King Jr. came in. And when he came in, he preached one night at Shiloh. Then he went across the street to Mount Zion. He did that about 3 times because there were a lot of people who knew that he was here and they wanted to hear him. But when Martin Luther came into Albany, the Albany movement was already started. So he came here for a reason. And the reason is that we wanted publicity of what was going on in Albany, Georgia. And we knew that if we got Dr. King, we would be on the map. And there were songs like sorrow songs. And what I mean by sorrow songs, I'd like to share maybe 1 line or 2 singing. Sometimes I feel like a motherless motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home, a mighty long way from home. And we were out in California when we got the call to come to March on Washington. And Harry Belafonte chartered a plane, and he flew us from California to Washington, D.C. It was such a wonderful trip because we had our own suite, and we could rehearse the songs that we were going to sing. But we were on the plane with Rita Moreno, Charleston Heston, Sidney Poitier, and all those other ones that I can't remember right now. But it was such a wonderful experience. And the March on Washington was too. But while we were waiting, Peter, Paul, and Mary, you know Peter, Paul, and Mary? Okay, well, Mary was crying, so I went up to her and I say, "Why are you crying?" She say, "I don't think we're gonna sing." I said, "Weren't you asked?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, if you were asked, honey, you all are going to sing." I had the privilege of singing at the Apollo Theater. And that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And Carnegie Hall. I've had the privilege of singing at the Chicago Civic Opera House. So those are moments. It makes me feel honored that I was able to do what I do and still do what I do. And nobody did it for me. I did it for myself.